Hey there, listeners, and welcome to Film Jot Review's BrightBurn. Directed by small-time filmmaker David Yarovesky, written by Brian and Mark Gunn, with their famous brother James Gunn producing the film. James Gunn, as you might know, is a famous director known for Slither, Movie 43, and most importantly, both of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. This movie follows married couple Tori and Kyle Breyer with their adopted son Brandon. The family live in a small farm town, and after their son's 12th birthday, he begins to act not like himself, as the movie heavily insinuates that he came from beyond the stars. Now, after the trailer first debuted for this film, comic book fans were quick to claim this film as a what if Superman came down and was a villain instead of the do-good hero that we know him to be. And those fans wouldn't be wrong. Although not made by DC or Warner Brothers, this movie is heavily referencing the early childhood of Superman, from crashing down in an alien pod into a small farm town and taken in by a loving couple. Even his power set is copied, down to the detail of the character having one rare material being his weakness. The movie makes its promise of being evil young Superman, and that's exactly what we get. I don't think that the trailers promoted this film very well. It seems like they were pushing this as a horror genre film, when I think more accurately it's a suspense terror film. More like Jaws rather than Poltergeist. Okay, maybe those films are kind of dated. More like Get Out rather than 2017's It, if that makes any sense. Standing at a solid 90 minutes long, this movie is well paced and balanced. From watching the parents trying to understand what's going on around them and with their child, to seeing this child change and understand himself from scene to scene. The performances are overall strong from beginning to end. More importantly, with the wonderful Elizabeth Banks, who's the relatable in for the audience, and her acting carries and delivers exactly when needed. I've always been a big fan of her work, and this movie is no exception. Being an R-rated horror flick about a superhuman child, you can expect some well-placed violence. Just enough to be horrified by the presence of the kid and not oversaturating the film with it. And there are a few gore bits alongside the violence, and it sounds weird to say it, but the gore is well placed and deserved. The film could have gone over the top with the gore and the violence, but instead keeps it close to the heart and condensed, with a total of, I believe, about 6 kills. I'd say that's low, all things considered. I mean, Man of Steel had a death toll in the thousands, and that movie had a Superman trying to defend the Earth. This movie had only the bad guy and still kept it under 10. So, hats off to you, BrightBurn. If I had to get real nitpicky, I'd have to say that a few CGI bits, but definitely the big final VFX shot doesn't look great. I actually cringed a little bit looking at it. But for a movie with a budget of only $7 million, which is phenomenally low for not just horror films, but specifically for superhero films. I mean, a superhuman film with a tiny budget that is still better than Man of Steel, I have to say they did a great job with it. Overall, I really enjoyed the movie. It was a fun Elseworld kind of story that doesn't go any farther or longer than it has to. A true testament to the phrase, less is more. However, As much as I enjoyed it, I fear that aside from the dark parallels to Superman, I'm not certain how well this movie genuinely holds up on its own. The devil's advocate in me wants to say that the film is okay or just good, while another part of me thinks that this is a solid standalone movie. If you're a comic fan, then I highly recommend watching this movie in theaters. If you just like horror movies, then this one is decent and at least worth watching at home. And if you're not either of those two things, then stay clear. This movie wasn't made for everyone. Anyways, there you have it, BrightBurn. Make sure to let me know what you thought of the film over on Twitter at FilmJot or Instagram at film_jot. Thanks again to anyone for listening, and until next time, this is FilmJot. Stay friendly, you guys. See you later.